Hey guys, what is up? Chris here with Cohesive Friendship Unit. Just me today. There's a new skin in Risk of Rain. I think a lot of us were going through our monsoon difficulty runs, and we went through the engineer. I know I did. Finished the run and said, what the heck? There's no skin in previous patches. Well, that has been answered. There is now a skin, and I say this in quotes. All you have to do is beat the game on monsoon difficulty. So I'm gonna give a few tips on how to get your engineer through monsoon difficulty, and in a spoiler-free fashion, I will not be showing the skin because I don't know if I personally would want it shown, so I'm just not gonna show it. You can Google it if you want to see it. If you enjoy Risk of Rain 2 and you maybe want to get a friend in on it, we are giving away a copy in 30 subs, 2,250 subs. We're giving away a copy of Risk of Rain 2 on your platform of choice. All you have to do is be subscribed to the channel. And if you found this video helpful, please throw us a like. Alright, so to get the skin, all you have to do is obliterate yourself at the obelisk on Monsoon. And I say all you have to do, but that's actually pretty challenging, especially as engineer. Here are some tips. I want to start off just in general with Monsoon. Monsoon moves pretty quick. Engineer is pretty slow. You have to do a lot of damage to very particular things in Monsoon. You really have to pay attention to what you're focusing on. Engineer is not good at focusing damage because you have AI controlled turrets doing whatever they want. So these are some problems that you might face with engineer. We're going to try to tackle those. So first of all, on the loadout, I recommend the walking turrets as opposed to the stationary turrets. My reasoning behind that, especially on Monsoon, is walking turrets just do more damage, and being able to have them walk can be both a blessing and a curse. It's nice that you don't have to redeploy every time you move somewhere, but they tend to do whatever they want. So what I would say for the walking turrets is always have one ready to deploy. Don't deploy them willy-nilly like you or I tend to do with the stationary ones, where I'm always trying to kind of optimize a setup. Always have one in the bank in case one of them, they're supposed to follow you, but they don't always do that. So if one of them is like wandering off or whatever, just have one in the bank ready to go. That's my suggestion. I recommend the walking. You can do the stationary. I think it's much harder on Monsoon personally. If you are cool with blue items, like if you're alright with picking them up, there's two blue items that I really recommend: Strides of Heresy and Spinal Tonic. The reason I recommend Strides of Heresy, first of all, what that does is it replaces your shift, which is usually that drop bubble shield, with the ability to turn invisible for about 4 seconds, and you heal 25% of your health. This is just a better version of the shield in my opinion, because it has a lower cooldown, and you can move around with it, you can move vertically with it, and it heals you. Whereas the shield, you are invulnerable until something comes in the shield and it's not healing you, and it has a longer cooldown. This is just better in my opinion, especially on Monsoon, where, like I said, movement matters. And if you're not using stationary turrets and you're using the walking ones, then protecting them / using Fussling Bungus, Bustling Fungus, Chustling Gungus, any of those, it is better to be on the move. So that's my reasoning for Strides of Heresy. And Spinal Tonic, we call it the sauce here, really illustrates the woes of addiction. If you use it, all of your stats skyrocket. There's a small chance, though, that all of your stats will be permanently lowered after the effect. So it's a risk reward. What I'll say is it makes the last rounds much easier, or if something's slowing you down, you hit a rough boss or something, you can use it to get out in a pickle. What I will say is, if you happen to find a fuel cell printer or a fuel cell, I would recommend picking it up then. It's a little bit harder to justify when you only have one equipment, because if you start getting detrimental effects, it can really hurt when you're not using it. But if you have fuel cells, you can pretty much survive on it to an extent. That being said, it is definitely risky. But if you're not cool with blue items, if you think that's unfair, level 4 has the option of a legendary. Both levels have the option where you can guarantee yourself a legendary. The red one is just tucked away in a cave at a high price, and the other level, there are these mushrooms that you have to destroy 5 of. If you destroy 5 of them, a boss appears, you kill the boss, you're guaranteed a red item. I don't recommend doing this unless either you're way ahead on time or all of your fundamentals are covered. You have good movement speed, you have decent healing, maybe you have a tougher time or two. If all of those are covered, sure, go for it. Otherwise, I don't really recommend doing this. The one red item I will say to, definitely get if you see the opportunity, either in the blue portal or somewhere else, if you can get Dio's best friend, that applies to your turrets too. So all of your turrets, every time you deploy them, effectively get a second life, which makes them much, much more effective. I would say it's the best red item for engineer. The next thing I'll say is go for the gold portal if you can. And this is, I call him Papa. I'm not even gonna try to say his name. There's 2 ways to get to it. You can either dream of wealth, which is where you go through the blue portal, and on the dream section there's the right icon that you click and you pay 2 lunar coins and you dream of wealth, and then you have to go fight him. Or there is the other option, which is to find a gold portal. Those are extremely rare, but if you do find them, I think it is definitely worth going for him. He can make your life much, much easier, especially in the later levels. You can basically just worry about charging the teleporter, and once you hit 99%, you can kind of run away depending on the boss, and he should be able to do a lot if you're patient. Otherwise, just a few items that I think are good for engineer. We already covered movement speed is essential, so things like energy drinks, Paul's Goat Hoof, anything like that, red whips, all very helpful, especially if you're playing solo. Movement is critical, especially on monsoon, especially with engineer. Fuel cells, obviously good for the Spinal Tonic. Old guillotines, very helpful, especially solo, especially if you get screwed with an elite boss or a Malachite boss. That can save tons of time. Tougher times, good with engineer, especially because they're slow. Just basically gives you a chance to not have any damage taken to you. Bustling fungus, obviously good if you have stationary turrets. I like leeching seeds because they just heal you if you're doing damage. And yeah, the only thing I will say is maybe avoid gunner turrets in general during this run, because I find that the magma worms will tend to just run off and start attacking the gunner turrets, which can really ruin the flow of your run or a boss fight. The last thing I want to recommend is the 5-minute rule, especially on solo. This is much harder to do with 4 people. Realistically, you can do it with 2. I like to hit the teleporter after about 3 minutes in the level. It takes about 2 minutes to charge, and then wrap up with a few last second items, basically. But you don't have to stick to this rule. Don't live or die by it. Like, if there's a lot of great chests and you're past your 5-minute mark on level, definitely go get those. It's just a guideline. The idea is that you just don't want to run your difficulty up too high too fast. But I find that about 5 minutes for one player works pretty well per level. Obviously, you always end up going over this number, which is why I like to use the number 5 minutes and realistically get somewhere around 6, and that just helps keep your difficulty in check. But with all these things, you should be able to handle getting the engineering skin with enough patience. But I hope you're having fun with the artifacts patch. Expect a review very soon. That's all. Catch you guys next time.